Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know what they say, careful what you wish for. It seems as though Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul is learning the hard way. What happens when you alienate voters who disagree with you? What happens if you ignore constituents and their concerns, telling them to essentially take a hike instead of having an open mind and listening? What happens if you do all of this as you run your city into the ground? Well, people are simply gonna leave. And we know that's exactly what's been happening in New York over the last 2.5 years. Kathy Hochul's response has essentially been good riddance, even going as far to call Lee Zeldin voters not New Yorkers. Quote, "You are not New Yorkers," and telling them to flee to Florida. Well, like I said, friends, careful what you wish for, because now it appears that all of a sudden Kathy Hochul is very confused and surprised, shocked that people are fleeing her state, and she's launching an investigation, trying to figure out why. Well, I wonder what it possibly could be. The mass exodus of Democrat strongholds continues. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's first start off with a flashback. Who remembers when New York Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul said this?
And we're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
Jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong. You are not New Yorkers. This is a direct quote. This is exactly what Kathy Hochul said, speaking of her political adversaries. Now, at the time, she probably thought that she was being slick, putting on the New York tough girl attitude, even though it came off as insufferable and cringe. If you say something like that, you should probably mean it. All of a sudden, months after telling people to get out of here because you aren't New Yorkers, Kathy Hochul is so confused. Why are people leaving my state? How could this be? Months after telling Republicans to head down to Florida where you belong, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says the state has to figure out how to stop people from leaving. Oh, really? In her New Year's Day inaugural speech following her 2020 election, New York Governor Kathy Hochul took aim at one of the biggest problems plaguing her state: people who are fleeing New York to escape the consequences of Democrat policies. Her words were a far cry from her campaign rhetoric back in August, where she suggested that her political opponents, including Representative Lee Zeldin, should just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? You aren't New Yorkers. Many people over the last months and years have taken exactly this advice, fleeing New York's oppressive anti-business climate and crime rates for the greener pastures of Florida and other states. According to the Census Bureau, New York had the highest population decline of any state in the union in 2022, while Florida had the highest rate of population growth. Hochul lamented this trend in her speech, saying, "We must and we will make our state safe. We have to make our state more affordable, and we must reverse the trend of people leaving our state to search for lower costs and opportunities elsewhere." In recent years, there have been many reasons for New Yorkers to leave the state, including some of the harshest pandemic response measures in the country, responses which severely damaged New York's economy but did not slow the spread at the same time. High corporate and personal tax rates, its regularly poor ratings in personal business and freedom, and the disastrous tenure former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, which saw New Yorkers flee the city in particular. Hochul's speech did not promise to address or reverse any of these decisions, nor did it admit that Democrats may have erred in implementing any of these policies. Hochul has also faced opposition from within her own party on her attempts to bring down New York's crime rate. Hochul wanted significant changes to New York's controversial bail reform law this year, but faced withering opposition from Democrats in the legislature, in spite of pleas from New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who pushed for the bill. Ultimately, some of her reforms made it through the state's budget proposal, but neither they or anything else have effectively stopped the exodus from New York to greener pastures in the United States. The typical Democrat response: absolute friggin' delusion and denial. Kathy Hochul is asking herself, well, why are so many people fleeing New York and moving to Florida? Well, probably because you told them to, because you said they didn't belong and they aren't New Yorkers, and secondly, because your policies are absolute garbage. But of course, Democrats will never actually admit and address any of it. Why would anyone willingly want to move to a place that's so unaffordable, that's so filthy and filled with crime, politicians and prosecutors who actively take the side of criminals instead of tax-paying citizens? Not to mention, on top of the fact that the city is expensive and dangerous, the city's government is also going to tax you into friggin' oblivion, and it's one of the least friendly business environments in the nation. nation. I wonder why people are moving to Florida. Another desperate Democrat plea, almost as pathetic as Gavin Newsom, spending millions of dollars running ads in the state of Florida asking people to please come back. I'm so sorry for all the meth pipes and heroin needles on the floor. High gas prices, the epidemic of crime. We're sorry. Please come back. Not gonna happen. Even Gavin Newsom's own friggin' in-laws moved to Florida and have zero intention of moving back. Well, we're seeing the same thing when it comes to the exodus of New York. If you get complacent and if you think you're entitled, well, very quickly you will be in for a serious reality check. And Democrats in New York are now facing reality. The fastest growing city in the nation is Miami. It's not just that Florida is the fastest growing state, but they also boast some of the fastest growing cities as well. Tech jobs and finance jobs are moving to Miami.
We didn't stop hearing about Florida in 2020.
From Florida now.
Golden ticket in Florida.
It sounds like Florida. Well, you're not alone.
Some of Wall Street's biggest names like Goldman Sachs, Elliott Management, and Citadel Group have or are considering opening offices in Florida. High-profile investors like Keith Rabois, Shervin Pishvar, and John Oringer already made the move. Even JetBlue is considering it.
And really, is it any surprise? Beautiful weather, beautiful people, beautiful beaches, amazing vibrant culture, restaurants and nightlife, and most importantly, low taxes and a friendly business environment. And a governor who actually respects the will of his constituents. A governor who fights to protect citizens and protect children. And most importantly, protect their constitutional rights, their freedom, and their wallet. It's a no-brainer. Kathy Hochul is now launching a project trying to figure out why people are leaving and how to stop them. Again, most likely in true Democrat fashion, she's going to spend millions upon millions of dollars on focus groups and investigations and research. Save the damn money. Here's your answer. Quit being a damn commie. Implement decent common sense policy that works for your citizens and works for businesses. It's not exactly complicated. You know, whatever Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's faction is telling you, just do the damn opposite. Problem solved. I mean, that right there is like multi-million-dollar consultation that I'm giving free to Kathy Hochul. I mean, she could save so much money and benefit her career, but of course, they'll never accept it. They'll never accept that they're the problem, but they need to accept it and accept it fast because Democrats in New York have a serious problem. Democrats are anxious about an unlikely battleground, New York City. You've seen the data visualized. Every single county in New York is shifting rightward, and that's after the right-wing Republican exodus, conservative voters fleeing Democrat policies in New York, meaning after losing hundreds of thousands of fleeing voters to Florida and other states, the entire state of New York is still shifting rightward. There's no mysteries here. There's no confusion as to what is happening. We know what's happening. It's plain and it's clear. And I guess to repeat the point from earlier in the video, sometimes you gotta be careful for what you wish for. Another major Democrat backfire. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.